Hello chess friends and welcome to the of Chess channel and welcome back to the TCEC season 23 super final between the two top engines Stockfish 15 and Lc0. So as I'm recording this video, the result is +3 for Stockfish 15. Stockfish has now 30 points and Lc0 has 10 points. In my opinion, this is it. This is in my opinion the decisive result already for Stockfish 15, because if you have followed maybe this previous TCEC competitions but also some other computer chess champions, whenever Stockfish took such a decisive lead in such an early stage of the super final, Stockfish simply won the tournament. Now only 23 games have been played and Stockfish has already a +3 result. So in my opinion, Stockfish will win this TCEC season 23 for sure. So still we are of course covering more games because the games are really beautiful, and the opening choice by the organizer was also beautiful so far. We have seen some King's Gambit, we have seen also some King's Indians with the beautiful 4-pawn attack, so really sharp, brutal tactical lines. And today we'll see a beautiful Bayonet attack played by Stockfish 15 against Lc0 against the Pirc Defence. It's also a beautiful, really sharp attacking method against the Fianchetto Bishop. Really beautiful choice. And if you have trouble maybe to beat the Pirc Defence or the Mortar Defence, because sometimes the pawn the Pirc Defence or Mortar Defence are transposing into the same position, you can use, I think, also the Bayonet attack as your main option, because it's really a beautiful method to beat this kind of a defense. So let's see now the game. Stockfish 15 against Lc0 in the beautiful Pirc Defence. So here Stockfish opened with the move e4. Lila's response was d6 the Pirc. We have d4, knight to f6, knight to c3, g6 going into the Fianchetto structure, bishop to e2. So if you're trying to launch a flank attack, you can of course first of all play the Austrian attack, but we cannot really call it that this is a flank attack, because the main idea about the Austrian attack is to go more towards the center. You're trying a central breakthrough with the move e5. But when you're trying maybe to launch a flank attack with h4, h5, there are two choices. You can go into the 150 setup with bishop to e3, queen to d2, and then to try to trade off the bishop. Still you're trying h4, h5 to launch a flank attack, or you're trying this idea with the move bishop to e2, which is a different but I think similar approach, because still you're trying the main motif h4, h5, and then maybe to open the h file. So here in the continuation, bishop to g7, h4 immediately. Now we have reached the beautiful position of the Bayonet attack. In the continuation we have now kingside castling. This move was also prearranged by the organizer, although in my opinion the best way here to go for black is maybe to play the move h5, stopping simply a little bit the progress of white, so you're playing sort of a blockade here. Or you can go immediately with this idea to create a central counterattack, because there is a certain rule in chess that says when you get attacked on the flanks, then you should counterattack in the center of the board. So that's why c5 would be then the way to go. Now of course if you try d takes c5, you don't want to take immediately, you just play queen to a5 and continue with enormous pressure against the square e4, because notice there is also the tension by the bishop, there is also the tension by the queen. So in the next move you just pick up the pawn here with the move queen to c5, and black should have equal chances, I think, in this position. So these are the best ways. So as I said, h5, or maybe here the move c5. So in the continuation after move h4, the prearranged move by the organizers was still the move kingside castling, h5, and now knight to c6. And now comes the first move that the engines had to decide for themselves in the game. In the reverse game, if you have followed maybe this previous also TCEC competitions, then you probably know that these two engines in the super final have to play the same positions with the white but also with the black pieces. So in the game played by Lc0 against Stockfish, when Lila had the white pieces, Lila continued here with the move h6. In the game that we're following now, Stockfish took h takes g6. So maybe you can be the judge of this position. In my opinion, in my honest opinion, I would play the move h takes g6. I like this idea more because it's a more opening idea. You're opening simply more the position. Okay, with the move h6 that Lila played against Stockfish, and I have to also say the game ended in a draw, so Stockfish defended this position after move h6 that Lila played. Okay, you get a tempo against the bishop. The bishop has to retreat now to h8, but I think this move h6 is locking more the position, so the position is getting more close, because basically the pawn of your own, it's standing in your own way, so you cannot proceed here anymore on the h file. So as I said, maybe you have created more spaces, but in my opinion, really h takes g6, this is simply a move that I would play, because in my opinion it opens the position more, and there is now already a tactical problem about the move h takes g6. H takes g6 wouldn't be good here for black. This wasn't played in the game, but let's see now what happens after h takes g6. Look at this, we're simply continuing knight to f3. Maybe black would try maybe to launch a flank attack with b5 and similar stuff. We're preventing with a3, bishop to b7. I just played a couple of moves that maybe are good here for black. This is now the way to go. So we're playing the main sort of 150 attack idea, queen to d2. We're trying to trade off now the bishop. We're playing bishop to h6. We're trying to sneak in with the queen on h6, and we have now a perfect attack. We would then create a rook and queen battery on the h file, and in my opinion, this is game over. For instance, the Stockfish engine at home evaluates this position already a +3 position for white. So in my opinion, this is a lost game here for black. So that's why as for after move h takes g6, you have to play f takes g6 with the idea, okay, maybe white can again play this idea, bishop to e3, queen to d2, maybe again bishop to h6, trying to trade off the bishops here on the h file, maybe even to include the queen somehow on the h file. Maybe the queen can come on h6, but notice here with the move f takes g6, you have liberated now the f7 square for your rook, and now the rook creates sort of a good defense on the 7th rank, and but also protects now the h7 pawn, and this is the way to go. This is at least some kind of a good defensive idea here by black. So as I said, it's simply a better, in my opinion. This move f takes g6, okay, is maybe temporarily prevented this position, but notice even if black does it like Lila-c0 did here in the game, then with bishop to c4 you are also vulnerable on the light squares here, so you cannot protect basically both sides of against the king. So really already a devastating attack by white. So in the continuation after f takes g6, Stockfish continues with knight to f3, and now comes already wild idea by Lila-c0, knight to g4. And the idea is this one: knight takes d4, knight takes d4. Notice that also the f2 pawn is a little bit weak. So for instance, if you lose maybe the f2 pawn, then you get the fork here against the rook and the queen. So this is also a nice tactical idea here by Lila-c0. But Stockfish continues now with the move bishop to g5, which makes really sense, because what you're preventing with this move bishop to g5 is the e5 progress of blacks. If black continues maybe with the pressure, with the knight, with the bishop, with the pawn on e5, if black continues to push here in the center of the board, then this could be really brutal attack by black. Black could have also good chances around the square d4. So that's why bishop to g4 prevents this e5 move. But Stockfish played now really a wild gambit line, sacrificed the pawn on d4, and in many occasions this would be a suicide. You don't give up such a brutal and such an important pawn in the center of the board. Now after knight to d4, the problem of whites here is that you cannot pick up the knight on d4 because you lose the tactical battle here around the square f2. But that was of course not Stockfish idea here. After move knight to d4, Stockfish plays now the move bishop to c4, and there are now only two good moves. You can play bishop to e6, cover yourself, or the move knight to e6. In the game, knight to e6 was played by Lila-c0, but look at this, what happens if you play bishop to e6. Bishop to e6 would be really monstrous, because actually here a beautiful queen sacrifice would be possible. This is really stunning. Queen to d4 would be actually the best move here. After bishop to d4, we play, pardon me, knight to d4, we play first the check, bishop to e6. Now you step back with the king, and now you pick up the bishop here on d4. Okay, maybe you can lose here also the pawn on f2, but look how wild the game is already becoming. This wasn't played in the game, but I was really curious what's going to happen if you cover with the bishop on e6. Now just play kingside castling. Look how really devastating this position is. So okay, maybe the knight doesn't have good squares. In the next move it will simply pick up the knight, but this will be brutal. This will be 4 minor pieces against the queen. So this should be of course a completely winning game here for white. So the queen sacrifice would be really possible after potential bishop to e6 move. Really wild stuff. So that's why knight to e6 was played by Lila-c0, but it doesn't help black out so much. Here knight to d5 was Stockfish continuation, simply continuing the pressure now around the square f e7. Here the continuation, we have rook to f7, covering now this 7th rank. As we said, we're protecting now the e7 square, but also if necessary also the h7 could be a wardable square that white can attack. But now knight to f4. Here Stockfish noticed this long diagonal against the king. Many pieces are lined up also on the light square diagonal, so now it's really a monstrous attack here by Stockfish 15. Knight to f4, bishop to f7, king to f7, bishop to f4, and now h6. h6 is very important here because if you play here bishop to b2, maybe attack the rook immediately, then knight to g5 will happen, and now you have to maybe play king to f8, something, rook to h7. Look at this. This is a brutal and lost position, I think, for black. You can even pick up here the bishop, the rook. It doesn't matter, the queen will come into the game. You get probably checkmated here immediately. So see, after move bishop to f4, you have to play now the move h6, preventing now knight to g5. And okay, this is now a position where white is up the exchange, but I guarantee you, you see now what Lila-C0 has also prepared here. It seems that this is really lost for black, but Lila will find here also great chances. Still, the bishop is very dangerous here. Still, this bishop is not also good. The knight is active. The e5 square can be used here in order to cement the position further. Although it seems like a really lost game, but I promise you here, as I said, black will also have now really great chances. So queen to d3 was played by Stockfish 15. For instance, if you play c3, I've also analyzed this line. What would happen if you play, for instance, the move c3? Why is white leaving simply the b2 pawn unprotected? Here, if you play c3, then you get e5, and suddenly you see you have to retreat with your bishop to d2, and in my opinion, black has regrouped here. Black has here really a fixed pawn structure. Will eventually use now the bishop in the game, maybe with b6, bishop to b7, will regroup, will play knight to f6. Although I'm pointing out white is up the exchange, but in my opinion, this is not so easy to play. This is not so easy to attack, because especially also the h6 is twice protected by the bishop and by the knight. So as I said, here Stockfish played queen to d3, left simply the b2 unprotected, but again bishop to b2 now it's not possible anymore, because queen to b3 creates a check, and simply you can pick up the bishop on b2. So far you see black cannot take out the pawn on b2, so that's why queen to e8 was played by Lila-C0. We have bishop to g3, we have queen to a4, and now after kingside castling we have now queen to a6. So Lila tried here to simplify the game, probably hoping for this kind of an outcome. Queen to a6, b takes a6, and now with rook to b8, maybe continue the pressure on the b file. The b2 would be really a warnable square. Here also bishop to b7 is an opportunity to create an attack against the pawn on e4. This was probably Lila-C0's calculations, but here Stockfish simply retreats to d2, is keeping now more pieces on the board. In my opinion, this is the way to go if you're of course a dynamic player, if you're of course trying to spice up the game, you're trying to keep your pieces, you're trying to keep your chances in the attack. So in the continuation, after queen to d2, queen to c4, we have now e5. Okay, it's a pawn sacrifice, but this is a good choice again by Stockfish 15. It creates new opportunities, it creates new diagonals, new open spaces against the weird king on f7. So d takes e5, rook to e1, we have now e4, and now queen to d8. This is again a beautiful choice here by Stockfish 15, because if you play now e takes f3, this wouldn't be good. You get checkmated in 4 moves. Rook to e7, king to f6. Now you play a discovered check. You have to step back with your king to f7 again, queen to e8, and now after king to f6, finally queen to e7 delivers this beautiful checkmate in the center of the board. So here the continuation after move queen to d8, so you see you don't have time to take out the knight on f3. Bishop to b2 finally was played by Lila-C0. We have a rook to d1, and now queen to c6, and this is now a really wild move by Lila-C0. So as I said, Lila will find its chances here. Notice that this move queen to c6 is targeting now the g2 pawn, so it will be clear what happens around the square g2 now in a couple of more moves. So Stockfish plays now knight to d4, kicks away the queen. We have bishop to d4, rook to d4, and now knight to f6, simply getting another piece into the defense. Here we have bishop to e5, and now e3, and e3 is such a beautiful subtle move here by Lc0. Look at this, what happens if you play rook to e3, then you get this one, bishop to h3. Discover the attack against the queen. You have to now give up more material. You have to give up the queen if you want, of course, to save your chances, because now you're going to get checkmated on g2. The same thing happens, of course, if you play f takes e3. Doesn't matter, still bishop to h3 is winning the game now for black. Really well tough. So you see, with the move e3, Lc0 create new chances in the game, creates now really a wild position. In the continuation, Stockfish has now to play bishop to f6. Now this idea, of course, bishop to h3 is not working because of queen to e7, so the bishop is supporting now the attack here, so you're gonna get checkmated, king to g8, and now queen to g7 is a lost game for black. So you see, after move bishop to f6, you have to play now first e takes f2, at least a check, king to f2. Now Lc0 picked up the bishop with queen to f6, king to g1, and now bishop to f5. Again, discovered attack against the queen. We have rook to queen to d5, a check, king to g7, and now g4. Continue the pressure against the bishop. We have now e5, queen to e5, and after queen to e5, rook to e5, we have king to f6. So Lc0 hoped that actually after rook to b5 and bishop to c2, maybe black could create some kind of a chance because of this 2 versus 1 pawn majority on the king side, but actually this is not working because Stockfish, of course, calculated everything in a good way. Rook to f4, first a check. Here Stockfish simply took the pawn on b2, c5. Now Stockfish simply attacked also this pawn. Bishop to d1, Stockfish picks up this pawn on c5, but now after bishop to g4, it seems again so that maybe black can hang on to this both of these pawns, and of course with the support of the bishop, this could be a good endgame for black. But actually Stockfish has a good calculation. Rook to c6, we have king to f5. Now again new check, and now black has to step back from the defense of the g6 pawn, and now after rook to g6, this is now completely winning endgame here. Now they're not two connected pass pawns. If black would have really here two connected pass pawns and the bishop on the king side, maybe then afterwards you support even the further progress with the rook, this could be maybe an interesting, I'm not saying maybe this is winning for black, but this could be quite interesting. But now after rook to g6, whenever you take one of these pawns, one of these two connected pass pawns, this is now game over for black. So let's see now what's happened. h5, we have king to f2, including now the king into the game. Here a check, and now again a new check. The king gets towards the center. Now rook to a4, simply attacking this isolated pawn on a7. Rook to a8, rook to a6, continue the pressure. Now check. Here also a couple of checks, but now Lc0 doesn't have good checks anymore. We have here rook to f8. Stockfish picks up the pawn on a7. We have king to c5. Now we have rook to b7. Now again a couple of checks, but doesn't matter. Again, no perpetuals are possible. Rook to g3. Now a couple of checks again. No good discoveries are possible here. Okay, you have your fun with one check, but no pieces are on light squares. Stockfish kept every piece on dark squares, where you cannot, of course, attack the piece with the bishop and also create the discover check against the king. So it's still Stockfish can escape. We have now a rook to king to h4, rook to g2, rook to king to h3, attacking now the rook to f2, and now Stockfish uses this pass pawn on the a file, creates now new chances here on the queen side. Bishop to g4, king to g3, rook to f3. Again, just a couple of checks, nothing special. Again, a new check. Again, a couple of checks, but Stockfish goes around with his king. Rook to g5, rook to f3, king to d2. We have now a couple of checks. Okay, this is now pretty annoying. Of course, you're getting checked, but nothing special. No perpetuals are always possible here for black. a5, Stockfish continues to push the pawn. Here again, after a couple of checks, now we have this one, rook to b6. The king has to step back. Rook to g7, bishop to d7, and now a rook to a6. Of course, the serious threat is rook to a7, and then you pick up the bishop. So that's why king to c8, rook to a7 anyway, bishop to c6, king to d4. We have now king to d8, king to c5, and now what to do? You have now, you don't have any choices. This is winning whatever you do. But let's see, for instance, you play rook to c3, then we simply play king to d6, and now the serious threat is one of these checks. Either you get rook to a8 or you get rook to g8. you are going to get checkmated. If you try maybe to deliver a new check on d3, then of course white picks up simply the bishop here, and still the game is over. So that's why for king to c5, Lila c0 tried bishop to d5, Stockfish simply grabs the piece and creates now a beautiful checkmate here on a8. So really stunning game. Immortal really attack against the Pirc Defence with this Bayonet method. In my opinion, this is really an interesting choice. I'm more of a fan of this the 150 attack with the immediately bishop to e3. So let's go back. If you're playing a little bit different move order, here you play bishop to e3, queen to d2, maybe f3, g4, and similar stuff, h4. As I said, I've created this mini series about the 150 attack against the Pirc on Modern Defense. Here's the link. You can also check it out if you are interested maybe into some good attacking chances against this type of defenses. If you want to see more of this beautiful top engine games, check out my common chess games play by computer series. Here's the link of our whole playlist. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. What to say? Chess is the best, of course.